Let's turn on the sound. Okay. Hello everyball or every cabbage, and welcome to our Alabaster Dawn Gamedev stream. So first of all, let me know if the microphone works the way it is right now. It might have turned itself pretty loud again, so if the sound is too loud, just let me know. That I can quickly tweak things, hopefully fixing it. And yeah, otherwise I'm Felix aka Luxen. I will do the game development, and with me in the voice chat today is Henne, who will maybe come back in a minute. I think he's currently AFK. And yeah, we also have the music bot, so let me just unpause that one before I forget. Powers off. Here we go, with some random video game music. And we get a couple of subscriptions. Okay. So first of all, before I forget it, there was one by Mayoff who subscribed with Prime for the 21st month, saying this is one of the Gamedev streams of all time and we are all just to be here for it. That's exactly correct. It's a Gamedev stream of all time. DWN Infinity already predicted my first line, who is hello every ball, but I actually said hello every cabbage, didn't I? I think I said hello every ball and then followed up with every cabbage, so strictly speaking that was still correct. I think we may have gotten another subscription that for some reason I can't see here in the chat. At least I thought there was one. But anyway, we got another one by Traco Ibiza, who subscribed for 44 months already. Thank you. Then we have Old 1080-821, who subscribed for 9 months. Thank you very much. Then we got Psychiatric, again, who subscribed for 50 months already. Thank you so much. Saying 50 times I've pressed the stamp button. Indeed you did. Thank you so much. And then we got Bleefork34 Gil, who subscribed for 45 months already, saying finally catching a death stream. Hyped. Okay.
Bleefork34 Gil, my buddy, my best.
And another one by Silver Cheers, and here's also Geflügel. Welcome back, Geflügel.
Hello, I was on the toilet.
Yeah, nice. Thanks for letting us know. So, Silver Cheers subscribed for 38 months already, saying, been a while since I caught a stream, excited to see the progress. Okay, yeah, there's probably some stuff we could show. I'm always kind of like, I don't know, it's I mostly want to focus on development rather than showcasing too much stuff, but I guess we can show a few things here and there. Then we got another subscription by Super Stinker 666, who subscribed for 36 months already, and Jack Crosscode Morant is also here, who wants to see the Easter eggs. The Easter eggs of something, I guess. I can already imagine what you're talking about. When's release? When is release? Indeed, that's a big question that everybody wonders. Unfortunately, we can't really tell at this point.
A very good question.
We do have some plans, some schedules in mind, but it's a little bit too early to give you like a precise release date. Because like one lesson we learned for Crosscode is that we don't want to promise a release too early. Remember, in Crosscode we had to postpone 6 times before it's done. So even if I told you a release date, it's more than likely it's going to be wrong at this point. So not this year, that's for certain. Maybe next year. That's maybe all I will say right now. And also not talking about the full release, because again, something we plan to do with Alabaster Dawn is starting an early access version, because it's again a very big, very ambitious project, and it will take us probably still some time to really wrap it up the way we imagine it. So yeah. And okay, so maybe some stream basics before I forget. So I will do the game development here. If you have any questions in the chat, just write them there, and you can write at Luxen or at Redige Fish Games or at Geflügel. Am I actually there with my name? Good question. What user do I actually have? I kind of forgot. I think it's probably at Redige Fish Games. Yeah. Right at Redige. What user do I actually have? I kind of forgot. I think it's probably at Redige. I should try not to listen to myself in the stream. So let me close this window. Sorry for that. Yeah, just write at Redige Fish Games or get Geflügel. That kind of increases your chance for your question to be noticed. So we try to catch all the questions, but we are known to be pretty bad at it. So sorry if you miss your question ahead of time. Yeah, that's the one. At Redige Fish Games, this one helps. Okay. And we got another subscription by SilverSpeed73023, who subscribed for 4 months already, asking, will there be a version for Mac? So in principle, a version for Mac should work, since NWJS is, again, we are still using the same technology stack we used for Crosscode, but it kind of turned out that for whatever reason, WebGL on Mac doesn't run that well. I mean, there have been weird bugs and performance issues that we simply don't have on Windows. And like theoretically, this shouldn't happen, because theoretically, WebGL should just run the same on all systems, as far as I understood. So we, in the end, we need to look into it, and it seems like getting a version for Mac will not be quite as trivial this time. So that's why I don't want to promise anything right now. How cold is it over here now? It's actually pretty cold. Last week was pretty bad. It was around 0 degree or lower. It was actually snowing.
Allegedly, it's actually pretty warm today.
Yeah, today it's actually a lot warmer, but just today. Tomorrow it will get colder again, but not quite as cold as last week. Mm-hmm. But we had like a pretty cold week for November standards, I would say. Also talking about Celsius degree, right? So.
Yeah, not those Fahrenheits and Kelvins.
Yeah. Also hi to Yui, who is here in the chat again.
Yui is here, no way.
Yeah, Yui is here.
I heard
before
she's famous.
I forget. Yeah, she's very famous. Okay, and I think that's about it for reacting to the chat, unless I again missed something. Okay, that's the question. Alabaster Dawn in early access, Alabaster Dawn in Spanish. So as I said, Alabaster Dawn we plan to do an early access release. We can't tell you exactly when. Alabaster Dawn in Spanish is a little bit like it depends. Like translating games like Alabaster Dawn is quite expensive, a lot of text. But thank you, Hannah. But we are working on better tools this time that makes it a lot more feasible to create community translations. And so maybe it's more likely this time because of stuff like that. Does the Telegram screen in the background hide hints about the release date? I was wondering until somebody mentions the screen in the background. No, this is not related to Alabaster Dawn or Redige Fish Games and larger scales. Just the screen of my wife, and I hope it's blurry enough that you cannot decipher things.
It might hide hints to things that delay the release, like
that's might be true.
What games are your biggest inspirations for the pillars and the combat other than Crosscode? What do you mean pillars? You mean puzzles and autocorrect, or do you
for the pillars and the combat other than Crosscode? So I wonder what you mean with pillars too.
I assume it's puzzles, but autocorrect did a funny
might
thing.
Be design pillars.
Okay, I see. That was my second assumption.
I'm not exactly sure what design pillars are exactly like that. But yeah, I mean, in the end,
the core concepts.
The core game concepts, yeah. So I would say it started off as let's do something similar to Crosscode because it worked well and was popular. but let's try do a few things better and or like different, try something else. And so first of all, we wanted to drop the whole bouncing ball mechanics, because we didn't just want to do the same thing again, so we had to think of something else. And from the very beginning, I thought we wanted to have multiple weapons, so that was kind of like a challenge. And I think it was inspired by a lot of things. I think from Stefan's side, from the very beginning, Neo was a big inspiration, because he's like constantly preaching about how Neo is like a very, very good game. So like a lot of it was inspired by Neo. For my side, it was also inspired by Breath of the Wild, because I always liked the fact that you had so many weapons and they kind of like behaved in a somewhat different way. And I thought that's actually, you can make a lot of cool stuff with that, even though I know a lot of games do that really. But for me, I mostly noticed that with Breath of the Wild back then. So that was one inspiration for sure. Let me just click on so I can slowly transition towards game development while we answer questions. So Terranigma is a very big inspiration. To some extent, Terranigma was inspiration for Crosscode 2. I mean, it was more like we made some references to Terranigma, but the game itself was kind of like its own thing. But Alabaster Dawn has for Alabaster Dawn, Terranigma is a much bigger inspiration, because Alabaster Dawn in essence tries to do something that Terranigma did back then, which I think a lot of games are not doing, and that is really showing a developing world as you play the game. So really it's an RPG, and you do stuff in that game that leads to the world to develop. So you're not actively building the world. And funny enough, like today's streams is like very much about this, because I'm currently, what I plan to do today is work on the nature transition scene, which means that I will try to make a scene which shows how, let me just find an example here, that will show you how this kind of scene, you know, kind of weird looking, weird colors, not so much natural nature, just weird stuff, turns into this scene, right? And before you ask, no, we don't have a system in place where we can do this dynamically, because I thought that's very tricky to do. So we do have a lot of systems that allow us to kind of like create one map and switch over from one mode to the other. But as you can see, actually doing this in real time, there's like always a big lag involved. So it's not, we can't really use this technology to actively show the transition. So we have to use a lot of tricks to make this work. So that's what will do today essentially in the stream. Okay, Fretboard is kind of having issues. Is it just for me? Hello, Hannah, are you still here?
No, I'm not, sorry.
Okay, is Fretboard still working for you, or is it only on my side?
I still hear it.
Okay, it's like so I guess we may have connection issues. Yeah, people hear exactly the music that I'm hearing, and it's currently glitching a bit. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, it might be glitching here and there, I don't know.
Yeah. So let's hope we don't have too many connection issues.
Maybe it's because you're in such a different area than I am.
Yeah, I'm very far from you, Hannah.
It has to go up the mountain, and that's bad for the internet.
Yeah, internet doesn't want to climb. Yeah. Let me just make it a bit quieter when it's like this.
Yeah,
so
it's really loud too.
So somebody asked, even if it's just a small area, could be cool to show how it works. I mean, in essence, what we are doing is pretty simple. We just have entities like those, which are attached. I mean, that's not even an entity. That's even like that's a plane that spawns entities. But here, for instance, we have an entity, and it really is just entity is linking to a figure. Figure is kind of like the equivalent of a 3D mesh, more or less. Like that's what we use to define how things look like. So the shadow looks a bit weird. That's mostly because of how the light falls anyway. So all we do really is say, okay, so here we have a figure, and to this we link another figure that should be used when it transformed into the not nature state, which we call the Nyx state. Which is, well, I mean, you may already know from the game description what Nyx is, so it's not really a spoiler, I would say. Which looks like this, more or less, right? So we just link the two figures and say, okay, those are like the equivalent figures. Swap those out when nature is not nature anymore. So when I turn this over, it just, you know, switches out the figure. So what's happening here is pretty much just, yeah, we just rebuilt the map, right? So we just, when it says, okay, the tags are changed, we just look at the map, look at all the entities of the map, we just swap out the figures and we just rebuild everything. And that is slow. Even if for a smaller map, it might be so slow that you notice like a short lag. I mean, if I do it here in the editor, you already notice how long it takes for this to rebuild, right? So it's not designed to work in real time. That's why it's not something we can really use for real-time transition. Like you could create these kind of systems to work dynamically, but it's a lot more work to do this right, and it puts a lot of more pressure on the rendering pipeline, because then you need to find neat tricks on how you can make those transitions work in real time. And I just thought, like, let's keep it a bit more simple, because the game is not designed in a way that we need to show these things to work in real time. There will be like a specially designed cutscene where we do this, and I can already show what we have right now. So here you can see an example on how that would look like. What tree moved? Did I move the tree here by accident? When I switched between the two. I don't think it moved. Not sure what you mean. Oh, when I switch between nature and not nature. How about making map style switching in small blocks like floor freezing, ice growing, etc.? Well, can your engine like load both versions at the same time, and then Juno will have halo light that show under layer map? I'm not sure what you mean with halo light. Honestly, there's a lot of ways on how you could do this. Obviously, you could create stuff where you just load both versions and you just do some shader magic to really make the transition. But I tried to find a solution where I don't have to really extend our render pipeline, because that was my goal. I wanted to keep the render pipeline the way it is and just wanted to find some workarounds on how to do it. And I think what I found is already works pretty well, because I mostly just use our effects system really. So this is what it looks like right now. As you can see here, we have grass growing, we have trees transforming. And yeah, that's how nature returns pretty much. So in essence, we also have stuff where like Nyx terrain, these kind of things, they kind of like dissolve. That's something I worked on yesterday. Yeah, as you can see, even like this kind of going away or grass growing to some extent on this terrain is also there. I even managed to recolor the water. That's actually kind of funny because I thought, okay, maybe we can do something about transitioning water. And then I did this, and do you know what that is? It's a little bit to explain because it's really dumb. Those are just decals. I just essentially spawn decals over the water, which have like this bluish color. And what I do is I say those colors should be multiplied with the color of the water. And that way it really just switches the color. It kind of like moves the color into a new direction. But at the same time, the details are not necessarily lost. That's a nice thing about multiplying colors. Kind of like you tend to not use details so quickly. And that works really surprisingly well, honestly. I never imagined it worked that well, honestly, even with the player just running through it. I mean, you will see more of that later when I try to work on these kind of things. This looks a little bit glitchy when I'm not in there. I wonder what that is. It might be because when it tries to redo the whole thing, it kind of... Let me see. Yeah, okay, there's something with about how the effects are going away. It's not that critical. Some question. How was Gamescom? OPR7 asked, and Gamescom was really great this year for us. So a lot of people in our booth, and we talked to a lot of people. So it was a good event for us. I would say.
A lot of fun conversations to be had and stuff.
Yeah, we even got a Juno cosplayer. That was amazing.
Oh, right. Yeah, I mean, she came to the booth and we were already gone, but it was still great.
Yeah, like we didn't see her live, but we just missed her by like a few hours.
Still cool. And like a lot of.
Oh, Fanan is here. Hi, Fanan. Didn't see that.
Fanan. A lot of potential publisher discussions, things like that. And yes, that it was all very, very fun. I mean, sometimes a bit tiring, of course, because we were barely able to see much from the Gamescom, like from the other booths and things like that. But you know, it just comes with having like stuff to do at Gamescom. At least I got my Arknights Enfield merch. And Arknights merch. That was even more surprising to get.
Yeah.
How does the story end? With a romantic kiss?
Yeah. Obviously, that's okay.
Something like that. No. You will see in a few days. And days. Yes. Not days. Can your engine like load both versions at the same time, and then Juno will have? Oh yeah,
I already answered that. Yeah. Like in principle, you could do something like that, but I decided to not. Yeah.
The game is not released yet, and already have cosplay. That's cool and supportive. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
It was really cool.
It was very improvised too. She essentially just saw the games, liked it, and then decided to really quickly make a cosplay within 1 or 2 days. I'm not sure. Like it was very quick.
Or rather, I mean, I assume she was a CrossCode fan before?
I don't know. I actually don't think so. I think she just saw the game.
I think it was rather that she saw that the game had a booth at the convention.
Yeah. She was at our booth and actually asked us if she could do cosplay. And I think I probably wasn't Rob, but somebody said, yeah, sure, that would be cool. And then she showed up a bit too late for us at least, but some other team members saw her. I think so. Okay, so what will I do today? I actually wanted to start with something a bit more technical because I want to do that, but it shouldn't take long, honestly. So maybe here you can see a little bit the effects I've been working on. This is the grass growing effect. So it just spawns a bunch of decals, which are really just, you know, it's just grass. It's with alpha blending. The nice thing about alpha planing like this, it's always the same color. And if I just spawn more of those, it will eventually just all be this fully opaque green color, right? So and then it will eventually just look uniform, flat colored, which is exactly what we want here. So yeah, that worked really well. And then additionally, I spawned a lot of grass billboards, as you can see. Now those grass billboards, those are a little bit troublesome. I mean, honestly, it works for the effect, but that's something I want to improve a little bit, because currently those are effect billboards, and something I would like to have is actually those being solid billboards. That means those use the same kind of graphic that we're using for trees or for Juno or for all the other props. And you know, I switched it here and it already works. The only downside is you do see the shadow. And fun fact, the grass billboards in our games, they don't have shadows. At some point I decided it looks better this way. So I need a way to turn off those shadows, and that's something I want to work on now. It's actually quite easy. I just need to specify a property and then just say, okay, we can use this property to just disable shadows. And that's it really. Because a lot of those properties don't work for solid billboards. You cannot recolor them, right? So this will not work here anymore. So yeah, that's the first thing I want to do. And then another thing is I want to make them wiggle inside the wind, because that's another cool feature we have as our billboards. They can really rotate with the wind. And something I would like to do is actually show the transformation as there is rain falling and it's windy. I think it would just look a lot more lively. And when those billboards, when I spawn them, they actually additionally will rotate with the wind. That I think will look really awesome. So that's something I want to work on now. Which again, I don't think it will take long. But yeah. So by the way, this is the water cleaning, which again is just a billboard. No, it's just a decal in this case. Just spawning this bluish color, and in this time it's multiplied with some lighter, so I had to tweak those values a bit for it to look good, but that's pretty much it. That's all I'm doing here, and I just spawned this over the water and it works. I mean, it's not exactly the right watercolor, but since the whole transformation sequence is kind of stylized and shaded a bit differently, people probably will not notice. Why are there two Junos? This is our effect editor. And this Juno is like the effect target. So when I want to make the Juno explode, I just go to the destruct effect sheet. Just take the rock destruct, and then Juno will explode into a bunch of rocks. So that's something I can do. So there's so many ways you can destroy Juno if you want to. Like this.
So many.
And this one is the second Juno, which is just the effect, the second effect target. Because there's a lot of effects which are kind of shown between two targets.
Yeah.
And that's why we use that.
But at least you could theoretically change the main Juno, or even
yeah. I do this actually.
And
probably.
something that I basically
it.
only started doing like last week was you can actually also show actions.
Yeah.
Really
actions.
helpful when you are planning effects.
Do you mean animations, right? Or
yeah, animations, of course.
Yeah. You can show animations. Yeah. Yeah, we worked a lot on our editors. Like things are.
It really bears fruit. It bears fruit like a fruit bear, like an Erdbeer. An Erdbeer bears fruit. Get it?
Yeah. Here's a way to make Juno explode or fade away. That's the effect I'm using to make the next terrain destroy. To destroy next terrain. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
I don't feel so good, Mr. Laxen. Okay, you don't get that reference yet. You still haven't seen Endgame. Wait, no, wait. It's from Infinity Wars. Ace
12345 asks, which YouTube channel will you use for terror content like music releases? Music releases pretty much depends on the composer and whatever the composer decides on how to release the music. We will most likely again work with Dennis. I mean, that's currently the plan at least. And he has his own channel where he releases music, which I can link to you. There's like this big YouTube playlist. And I'm pretty sure he will release Alabaster music in a similar fashion. So yeah. I remember you showed Juno can do Caramel Dunstan. She can. I spent some very... I mean, to be fair, doing these kind of animations really doesn't take long with our system. So that's a good thing. So it didn't take me that long to do this. Here we go. There it is. I think it mostly works from the front. Actually looks a little bit odd, so it's not very polished. But yeah, here it is. It's Juno doing Caramel Dunstan. You're welcome. Yeah, here you go. I won't give any promises on if that will be featured in the game. Wait, that's her death animation? No, funny. That's just I'm just showcasing some effects, and those are used for something else. Juno is just the poor effect target that has to witness all those effects herself. So yeah, that's not how Juno will die. Or will it be? I don't know. Okay, let's work on those grad things. Okay. Here we go. Get solid billboard. Okay. Okay, which one do I take? I think I would just use the lighter property. Yeah, I think that's good. I would just use the lighter property and say if this one is bigger than 0.5, then please do not use shadows. Let's see if that works. And then I just need to remember to actually document those things, because otherwise it will be very confusing. Imagine if Juno's death animation was Caramel Dunstan. Oh yeah, that's
that would be funny.
That would be very funny. So, let's see. Okay, so now we have the grass here, which is solid, and I will just set the lighter to 1 and shadows gone. Okay, we got that one. That was quick. And the next one is really it's about which property can I use to specify the wiggle intensity. It actually should be one that's should be one that can be positive and negative, and honestly we do have the U-shift property here. which again is also not something we can really use, so I might as well use this one. Yeah, this is really hacky. Honestly, the only way I do this is because I don't want to add more properties, because there's so many properties we cannot use with solid particles. I would just reuse those. So really, I just need to add some documentation so people understand what the heck they need to do. But it would be like a bit of a waste to just add more properties that are only active for solid properties. There would be ways how to do this clean, but honestly, it's too much of a hassle. So that is now the wind sway and wind wiggle. I think the wiggle is the only one that is really important. So let me just see. Just want to see what value is set there. Okay, it's really just a billboard map data wind wiggle. Yeah, it's just a factor between -1 and 1 and -1. So in terms of U-shift, that means I would just take the value and divide it by 180. So is there not another value I can use? Nah, okay, that's fine. Okay, then I will just take P data U shift divided by 180. Okay, I got this one. You can also see how those actually fade out a little bit differently. Explosive T says the all new software means full control of the game, which makes them able to do a lot of cool things. The slightly sad thing is that it's exclusive to them. I mean, to some extent that's true. I mean, but obviously I think even if you work with big engines like Unity and Unreal, especially for Unity, I understand if you really want to make a nice working game with it, you need to kind of like build your own systems in order for stuff to really work well. You cannot just rely on the standard stuff. That's at least what I understood from some people working with Unity. So obviously like having your own engine gives you maximum control, but I think seeing like the stuff we do here, for instance, I do know some people who implemented a similar 2D rendering system just based on Unity, just using whatever Unity can do. So it's like essentially you can use a lot of engines to do these kind of things. So like it doesn't have to be custom. That being said, obviously like this whole effects system is really designed very specifically to our use case. And yeah, I mean, obviously there were thoughts about sharing our code with other people, but honestly, for the most part, it's not really something we will do, mostly because it is a lot of work for us. We could just put out the engine and say, hey, you can use that. I mean, to be fair, that's something we were thinking about doing for crosscode. Honestly, we might still do it at some point, that we just release the engine that we use for crosscode. But again, it's not quite the same experience like using an engine like Unity or Unreal, because there really is no documentation, there is no support. Things will crash a lot because this engine is not designed to be 100% stable. We kind of like designed it so it's stable enough, right? So as long as it's will not hinder our development it's fine if it crashes, you know, like if it crashes sometimes it's not a big deal. That's usually how, like if it happens too often and it starts being annoying, then obviously we fix it. But what I'm saying is, even if you make this engine available to the public, it will be kind of messy to work with it, especially if you want to do your own thing, which mightn't exactly fit what this engine is made for. And making a proper engine out of it, I think, is a lot of work, and this is not really the kind of business we are doing. So that's why we are just making the engine with the game, and that's pretty much it. So, I mean, honestly, we really overdid it this time since we just recreated a whole engine for Alabaster Dawn. So for the record, that's not something we plan to do again for the next game. Hopefully. So again, anyway, so now you can see I spawned the grass. Now let me increase the U-shift and see if it wiggles. And it wiggles! Look at this. Because there's currently a windy effect here. So that means now all the grass is actually reacting to the wind. Look, and this looks, I think it looks actually nicer because now you get this constant wind motion as the grass appears, so that makes it a bit more lively now. Will the next game have online multiplayer? No, our next game will not have online multiplayer. I think the game after that will likely also not have online multiplayer because
you never know how the market changes, Felix. Maybe in a few years, games that don't have online multiplayer will be forbidden by law.
Sure, and I'm sure
in the new law to make social interaction more mandatory.
Obviously. Yeah.
Wait, so the next game will use a commercial engine, or it will really reuse this one? I think I missed that part.
Oh no, we want to keep reusing the engine we are currently working on. Obviously, like that would be like a big irony if you just spent a lot of time on working on this engine and then next game we just use a commercial engine. Like if we do that, then yeah, we essentially just failed big time, and working with the web technology was just a huge mistake. But to be fair, honestly, before using Unity, I would try to figure out a way to port this engine to another technology. Honestly, that would be the better solution for us. Yeah. So the CD Projekt Red ideology, dropping Red Engine in favor of Unreal. I mean, I understood that our cross-core publisher Deck 13 also dropped their engine now for, like, they will also now focus on working with Unreal from what I understood. Which in my opinion is kind of a shame, but I guess to some extent this is something that might happen if you really want to go with the cutting edge technology. I'm not sure this will happen for us because we are not really working in that direction. We have an engine which is designed to a very specific use case, and there really is no option. I think redoing this kind of technology with Unreal or Unity would actually be a lot of work because we cannot just use the engine out of the box. We have to work around it quite a lot.
We have to make the editors again, yay.
Yeah, especially the freaking editors. Oh my gosh, no. Gee, never.
We have made the best editors that exist in the entire world. Why would we use anything else?
Shasha Senri asks, do you think you will ever make a game with a very different genre? Like, I will never say never, obviously. I think for the foreseeable future, I think we will just stick with RPGs. But then again, I don't know. Sometimes I'm really kind of like fantasizing and saying, you know, maybe a game that you can finish in let's say 2 or 3 years might be not be too bad. Especially when I see stuff like farming games, I thought, we could just create a cool farming game with our engine. It probably would be really nice too.
But maybe it all depends on how saturated the genre is and stuff like that.
Yeah, in the end. Sometimes I wonder if Alabaster Dawn is like a very big success. Then maybe something we could do is actually try to do multiple projects instead of saying, okay, we just everybody focus on one project, but we actually split our effort a little bit. At least that would be one idea. And then we could try maybe different things.
Maybe games that are either smaller or that like built on.
So you're a fan of Alabaster Dawn? Name every mechanic. What?
Yes.
No.
And maybe when our gaming repertoire is big enough, we can finally make a gacha game, Felix.
Hi Robin591 subscribed for 73 months. Thank you. Saying Leah Smack. Okay.
Leah Smack. Leah is very smart.
I want online PvP with your combat system. I mean, I'm not sure how well this combat system works in online PvP, honestly. I think you might have you might be surprised that it might not be quite as much fun, because I think doing online PvP, you need to balance stuff in a certain way for it to be good, and Crosscode really didn't do that. So just thinking about how tricky it was to actually make a Apollo PvP fight where you could not just steamroll the poor guy. Obviously people called him a cheater because I had to give him some stun lock, otherwise it would have been too easy. Not stun lock, but stun stability.
Yeah.
There's a question by Flameheart X. Good evening. It will be a wonderful game. I would like to know if at some point it will be translated into Portuguese. Here in Brazil, the consumption of games is very high. I mean, as I said before, we are doing things for our game to make it easier for translations to happen, at least technology-wise. I'm not sure we will really do an official translation to Spanish or Portuguese. That depends on several factors. Also with whatever publisher we work together, how good the sales are. Because the truth is our games are very text heavy, so doing translations is really expensive. So we kind of have to be careful doing this. That being said, I think community translations will be a lot more accessible this time. So I think it's likely that those will happen and we can make it a lot easier to actually include those into the game. Effectively, you just need to place a JSON file into the right folder and then you have a new translation. That's really all you need to do this time. At least that's the goal.
I mean, One Step from Eden managed to transfer its combat into a great 1v1 game with just a few mechanics. Yeah, but it's like a way more, how you say it, it's a combat system that is also kind of action-based, yes, but it works in way more limited rule sets in a way.
Yeah.
It's not some free-form slashy game like Crosscode or Alabaster Dawn is. And also, both sides have more similar rule sets, like enemies and player, in One Step from Eden. Why was Crosscode never released on mobile devices? Technologically wise, could have been possible. Yeah, I mean, the main problem was rather
controls,
like how it would be controlled and stuff.
Yeah. Okay, Wind Waker is really maximum, so let's just go maximum.
I'm trying to imagine someone trying to control Crosscode on a touch screen.
Yeah, like, it's really tricky. Solid.
Yeah, this would have caused a lot of broken thumbs. Yep. Something like that.
Okay. So before I forget, let me now document all those changes. Okay. Oh look, they're not documented at all. So let me do that too.
By the way, something nice that might give you a bit of hope for us finishing the game within a planned time frame. Is that I feel that it gets much easier with time and faster to implement new anime actions and stuff like that.
I mean, in general content, I think. Mm-hmm. Like the last few weeks, I kind of noticed that it's like you, for instance, working on a couple new enemies, which are progressing quite nicely, and also Stefan just doing a lot of maps, really pretty much in 1 or 2 weeks. Like he did a lot of stuff already there. Also me essentially just implementing, I think, 3 weapon actions in 1 or 2 days. That also, like, I get the feeling things start to move a bit more smoother, which is about time, really. Like, a lot of things took longer than expected, but I get the feeling things are kind of slowly progressing in a more smooth way. So I'm starting to become a bit more optimistic too.
I mean, the thing is, if you have like a lot of enemies already that do certain things like sweep attacks, then you have like a very solid basis for enemies that also do sweep attacks. Like they will do it differently than the enemies before, of course. But you still have like a rough idea how those attacks would work, for example. Aside from the technical aspects getting more and more complete. Or being almost completely complete. Like again, last week I had to expand the tackle step a bit, but that was basically half an hour of work.
Yeah, sure. I mean, usually that happened every time I worked on a new enemy or boss. I had to do a lot of technical stuff, but I think at some point there will be less work we have to do on the technical side, hopefully.
I'm very confident that we will never have to expand our proxy system ever again.
This will, especially the proxy system. yeah.
I mean, the
for sure.
System, it does feel. I mean, it's hard to say complete, but
no, I don't think so. I mean, I'm pretty sure there will be more stuff. Like, at least for the player, I might even have to tweak a few things for the projectiles. So. Like never say never. Also for crosscode, I think we kept adding technical stuff up until the end of development. So this will always happen. That's fine as long as you don't do it quite as much. That's good enough, really.
One thing that came to mind recently to me, it's like a development question. We still don't have evasion reactions, right?
Yeah, because the whole code is missing for that. That's actually something I need to implement at some point still. Yeah, that's still missing. I need this also for the party members, because right now they don't really... I want them to actually evade attacks, even though you can't hit them. It looks a little bit too weird that they're just standing around there, just chilling, and then there's like a huge boss jumping on top of them and they don't care. So maybe like I want this to actually feel a bit more nice, and them actually just dodging attacks is really half the... Just making them react to it and do something is already enough. Like, it doesn't have to be perfect.
I mean, you could even have it in a way that, I don't think they can do it right now, but that they even can get hit, but of course it doesn't kill them. It just knocks them back and just knocks them on their ass, and then they stand up after a few seconds. That kind of stuff is something one could do for, like, to make them feel more real. basically.
Actually, that's not a bad idea. I just would like kind of add some kind of shield for this to happen. But honestly, I don't want them, like, I don't want to actually make it a mechanic that you need to protect them. I want to be careful about this.
Yeah, I mean, considering they don't really take damage, there's not really a need to protect them in a way. So it would mostly be just to make them feel more like a real part of the combat arena, even if it doesn't really make much of a mechanical difference.
There's actually a comment: with the mounting popularity of Android handheld game devices, I think it might be fair to release CrossCode as a controller-only Android game. I mean, to be perfectly frank, I think at least our publisher talked with us about this, about some company actually trying to do that with CrossCode. But I don't want to promise anything here and don't confirm anything, because I honestly don't know exactly how things are going there. So I mean, obviously, if it's feasible and we find a way to do this easily, somebody might do this at some point. But yeah, you have to see. Makes sense. After finishing more of the infrastructure, you can focus more on the actual content. Yeah, that's usually how it goes. It's just that the infrastructure really, it's not just the infrastructure, it's also a lot implementing the base features, like what your player can do. And honestly, there's a whole lot more stuff that Juno can do compared to Leia. And that's part of the reason why things took longer. Okay.
Yep, you can try CrossCode on browser native. Why have you decided to drop the mechanics of teammates dying? Well, it wasn't common in CrossCode, it was certainly an interesting way when they had to heal. I mean, it's rather a thing that we didn't want to implement it again because of certain gameplay focused decisions.
Honestly, my experience with CrossCode was that I always thought that when you have bigger fights with your party members, it was, in my opinion, too chaotic. So I was never a big fan of that, because you had so many, because the game was very fast in its gameplay, and there was like just too much stuff going on that it became kind of like a hassle. I always personally enjoyed more like the single player boss enemies in CrossCode. Mostly because it was, you could really focus on stuff. And the thing is, I wanted to have party members in Alabaster Dawn, and I also wanted them to kind of like be part of all fights this time, not just outside of dungeons, essentially. So you actually will do the dungeons with your party this time. That's a big difference.
Even the puzzles.
Even the puzzles. And they actually are involved in the puzzles in a way. And that's why I wanted to kind of minimize the amount of agency your party members have. And this includes that they will not just, die and respawn. There's also setting reasons why this would be weird. Like in CrossCode, we could, okay, I mean, obviously you can always handwave stuff, but I felt like this time I want to do something. We wanted to do things a bit differently. That being said, I think the party members will actually be, there's currently a few ideas that we have about how party members will actually participate in combat. Currently, they pretty much only deal like some additional damage, but there's like some ideas. And I'm actually kind of excited about some of those ideas. There will also be some work, and that's one of the last big features that we still need to implement. To be frank.
I think with the ideas that we have, party members might actually feel even more consequential than in CrossCode.
I think there will actually be. Like, even if they don't have HP and they will not die independently, there will actually, I think, participate in a more strategic way in combats. And it's like, honestly, I think they will feel more like team members working together with you rather than doing their own thing. And I think that's probably will make it more interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I mean, even if they are less, even if they have less own agency, what they do matters more for the player, and in that way, it's just might feel more meaningful.
Yeah.
To the core gameplay.
Saber Mesh said could never be on the Xenoblade dev team, lol. Honestly, I never played Xenoblade 3, but I heard some people complain about the amount of party members. I did play Xenoblade 1. I did like it. I thought it was like a nice balance. In Xenoblade 2, it was already too much for me, even though effectively you only had 3 party members, but them having also 3 plates, which are, you know, next to your party members, and you have like 6 people in your party and screen, that already felt like, oh man, that's so many people, that's so much stuff going on. And I'm just not a big fan of that personally. Mm-hmm. But then again, when playing the Final Fantasy VII remake, I kind of felt there like the balance works a little bit better, because the game actively encourages you to always switch between party members, and they're actually doing a lot of smart things there. They do, and especially in Rebirth, they do a lot of party team combos as well, which kind of encourages you to really think about all your party members. Like in this battle system, it kind of worked really well in comparison, I thought. Mm-hmm. At least that's my opinion. But yeah, even there, the combat tends to become really chaotic too. So that's I think that's hard to avoid when there's so many actors involved. Mm-hmm. Okay, so anyway, I wanted to add some documentation. I think this will not be a productive Gamedev stream. Okay. Okay, I did some documentation here. So it's not 100% random. You know, it's still not that pretty, but it's good enough. Yeah, I can imagine in CrossCode, like I think the appeal of having party members around was always like a big thing, and it was always a shame that they were just gun and dungeons. But I think it was an important decision for us to do it, because doing dungeons with team members is really tricky, and especially considering that team members in CrossCode were actually kind of like an afterthought feature. Initially, we were not exactly sure if you would have team members. And then I tried to do it and it worked, and I thought, okay, that's fine, but they will not be in the dungeons, because we already had a lot of mechanics and a lot of it would have been a mess. Yep. Just kind of like in terms of the setting, it would have been so weird, it wouldn't have made sense. So I said, okay, dungeons are instanced, and that's how we quickly decided that, and that's how it was. But yeah, this time it's different. So we knew from the very beginning we want to have team members, because team members are awesome, and also we want to have dungeons again, but this time with team members. And I think so far it works out pretty well. Like we did some testing last month, and I think, or this month it was, yeah. And I think so far feedback has been pretty positive, especially about the dungeon too, I think. So I think we're moving in a good direction.
The feedback was pretty good.
So, okay, let's see. Yeah, it's grass. Look at the grass. Okay, that's at least one thing done. We have now grass growing and disappearing again. I think for the next, still need to add this here. Okay, solid, full, and nice. We don't need the color transition now. Else we don't need those. I mean, jumpy is fine, but we don't need to fade out. Honestly, though, I think it looked better. Now they have like Okay, here it's fine. Okay, good. So. How much playtime will Alabaster Dawn have compared to Crosscode? We don't know yet. It kind of depends how things are going, but I don't think it will be a very short game. Like to give you a rough estimate, like we have now this test version, and I think people play around 3 to 5 hours or so. That's kind of like the average play.
4 to 5 hours is pretty.
4 to 5 hours.
We had like one person who was like 8 hours, but I think he was
just very he's just somebody who just testing a lot of stuff, yeah. And recently I looked at stuff, but I think a good way to measure it is actually by looking at the player level, because the current game content is for about player level 10, and the full game is planned to end at around level 70. So you can imagine, I would say at least about 7 times as much, probably more, because you tend to level slower in the end, and there's also more story stuff happening. So that's why I think the overall scope is, I think, comparable to Crosscode. Like, it will probably be another really long game. That's also why I don't think it will be finished anytime soon, because we just did the first 10 levels of a total of 70 levels, so there's still a lot of stuff to do. Yeah. Okay, so I don't think sitting would give you an easier resource, blah blah blah, for letting team members into dungeons without feeling forced. That's exactly correct. That's why we can't do it. I like the reason for Crosscode Dungeons being solo, that they were instances, gave a bit of personality to Emily, like talking to you about bugs when you're there. Easy, as Sapphire Rich showed us, calling your friend to complain, a nice little sign of trust that adds a small smile to us. Honestly, a lot of these things were kind of like added out of the context that we had, and we were just trying to figure out, okay, now we do have instances, and it's kind of like a shame that party members cannot talk to you inside the dungeon because sometimes it's nice. So what can we do? And then we decided, you know, direct links, they can just send you a message and start chatting, and then we did that. You know, it's kind of like a compromise that we added to have some party member interaction happening even if you're in a dungeon. It's still like, for the most part, they were very much gameplay focused because of that. Like, there were just a few direct links in between. It isn't really as much as you usually have. Yeah, and then the whole bug thing just happened. Honestly, you can expect similar things to happen in Alabaster. I think we already have a character with like a certain dislike towards certain creatures, and she also had red hair, so it's kind of like, kind of tend to repeat ourselves, I fear. Stealth is an option. Me stealth means nobody left to race. Will you keep the same leveling system as in Crosscode, meaning that everything past level gives? Actually, no. Alabaster Dawn will not, like, in some sense it will also be that your max XP is always 1000 and enemy XP will be reduced as you keep leveling, but the curve won't be quite as extreme as with Crosscode in both ways. That means you will not level incredibly fast when you're under level, but you will also not hit the ceiling quite as much. I decided it might be okay if people want to overlevel, but they also need to, like, the curve is more smooth, let's say it like this. In Crosscode I think it was very easy to catch up to the level of the enemies, and then you had to, at some point it was just 1 XP and you just could level as much as you want and didn't make any progress. And in Alabaster Dawn, if you just rush through your enemies, you will not catch up quite as fast as you did in Crosscode, but in turn it is also easier to actually go beyond the level. But you do need to essentially spend some time just bashing enemies, right? It won't happen too quickly either. Essentially, like, we kind of like now have the bigger burden of making sure that you cannot over level too easy, and it's also not too it's not too hard to reach the right level. Honestly, Crosscode system in some sense was very forgiving for us, because we could just say, yeah, those are the enemy levels, so the player is almost guaranteed to reach those levels, because the rubber banding was insane, right? You just very quickly got the level, and then you just stopped like a few levels above it. So it was very easy to control things. But obviously overleveling was not an option that way, and a lot of people didn't like that. So that's the downside. Now that we have not this really strong rubber banding, we do have to balance things more carefully, I think. So we have to look a bit closer about how much XP do you get. But we have a lot of ways to balance these things, and I think this probably will be a better experience for a lot of players, I would argue. Because honestly, if people want to overlevel, you should allow them to do that. That's what I think, what I feel.
Yep. It's also just something that can confuse players when you have like this limit, like we had it in Crosscode.
Yeah, and then just, why do I only get 1 XP? Why is this? Yeah.
And why am I still weak? I'm leveling and I'm still weak. And
yeah.
Then they just didn't equip proper stuff.
It's always the equipment, yeah.
Yeah. Which is also why it's a bit a bit different in
Alabaster
Dawn. Yeah, with how equipment influences stats and stuff. Still important though, still important. But people over.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Okay, so what will I do now next? Okay, something I can work on is to actually make some bushes appear. That's something I wanted to do. Because we do... Actually, now I can show how the tree transition works, so that the tree is growing again. I essentially just created a custom tree that includes both trees, and it has an animation for stuff to grow. So that's pretty much it. It's a really cheap trick, but it works. And I actually wanted to do that with another tree, so maybe I can do that now. And then I will try to do the same with a bush. With a bush.
It's George W. Bush, Felix, not George W. Bush.
It's Bush. Okay.
Bush.
Sometimes I wish it would be more consistent in English. That whole pronunciation.
Like German, which is always consistent with everything.
I mean,
all languages are.
Yeah, well, let's say it's more consistent.
We have Weg and Weg, Felix. Weg
yeah,
and Weg.
Yeah, okay, that's just like one of those few examples.
Wir sollten mal gucken, was da los ist, ne?
Gucken. Naja. Yeah.
Anyway, what is PP? That's a good question. What is this referring to?
Oh, look, it's Flora, and she subscribed for 73 months. Thank you, Flora.
Yes, yeah, it's so nice of Flora that she supports the development of Alabaster Dawn. PP is usually short for push-pullable.
Yes. And I don't know how you define a push-pullable size, so I don't know.
I mean, you can.
I guess if you can push and pull your traveling bag, I think that's sufficient to play Alabaster Dawn.
Mm-hmm. That's the mighty PP force.
A tinge of twinge says, I generally enjoy doing all the side content, but I also do like when the game stays sufficiently challenging. I think that's fine. Like that's kind of like the balancing thing. We probably will make sure that even if you do all the side content, things don't become too easy. So that's I think just the balancing burden, right? So over leveling should only happen if you really not just do all the side content, but you go out of your way to just go around and keep killing enemies that you don't have to. That's how you over level. Ace 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 now got more explicit, and I think there is no minimum size. Like, you don't even need a PP to play Alabaster Dawn. That's the truth.
Yes, you don't need a PP to play Alabaster Dawn. Very inclusive like that.
Yeah, it's very inclusive. So, okay, that works. Okay. Okay, the editor is very slow right now. I don't know why. Let me just restart it. Wait, before I do that. Oh no.
It's obviously bad coding.
Yeah, I mean, strictly speaking, that's probably true, and there's probably a lot of leaks happening in the background. But it's fine.
Damn it, more leaks than Nintendo. Please just not make this guy over leveling style. I mean, isn't this guy pretty infamous with how like stats escalate?
Yeah. Okay, I'm safe, thanks. Okay. Yeah. So Okay. It's faster again. So now I will take... Which one do I take? The blue one. But call this one tree 3 transform. And then I copy 3 nix. Just copy this one. There's actually 2 of those. Interesting. This one actually looks nicer. I will take that one. Okay. Okay. So the first thing I will do here is replace sheets. Yeah, it's a bit hard to explain the stuff I'm doing here now. That's very specific stuff. Okay, here I just need to replace this to nature. Here we go. And now I will combine those 2 trees. So here I have the root, which is now also here. The root should be first always. Okay. Here's the root 2, which I will rename to root nix. Then we got the leaves, which I copy over, and I will call those leaves nix. And that's how we combine the 2 trees. And we got a bunch of leaves here. Now the thing about the leaves is you actually want to make a couple of groups out of this. I think 3 groups are usually a good mix. I think I would just remove the grass group. So for this I need to create another group, which I call leaves 2. And then I essentially just need to randomly select a couple of trees here. Leaves. Let me just hide this and hide everything except for the leaves. Okay, let me just do a trick now. I will do a test animation. And this animation I really will just hide some of these groups. Because this way I can now select those things. Not sure I mentioned this, but selecting these things can be kind of a hassle. So those should be the top leaves. I will cut those out, insert them here, and here they are again. Okay, this one could be here. Also here, thank you. So maybe I can do another one where I just show this and hide the others. Here we go. Okay, so this one can also go here.
Upcoming releases you're excited about? You mean as in other games that get released? Because there's not much. I mean, we are both not big into waiting for big releases to play, I think.
I mostly don't get around playing stuff that much these days, I have to admit.
Yeah, and I have like a big backlog for games. There's not really much that I'm really looking forward to in terms of releases. Except, of course, the future Song of Conquest updates, which I'm looking forward to because it's a really cool game that I play. And of course, I have to mention it. I'm of course very much looking forward to the Limbus company Arknights collab that's happening in a year or something.
Mm-hmm. Of course.
Wild stuff happening.
Of course.
Wild stuff.
Okay, this is first and second.
And for games, I mean, are there any games I'm looking forward to? I mean, again, there are games that I'm looking forward to in theory, but with the backlog that I have, it's hard to be like super excited for it. Like, for example, I still need to and want to play more of Drover and finish that one because it's pretty cool. I come into the stream like once every 2 months, and always I hear Henne somehow managed to drop Limbus company talk.
Yeah, he tends to do that every freaking time. Not a single day without hearing about this game when Henne is around.
That's not... Maybe.
Likely.
But, I mean, to be fair to me, it's very good, and the story was very good, and it has very good soundtrack, Phoenix. Maybe I should play a bit of music from it.
Please don't.
I actually did play some MIDI music already, but only the instrumental one, because I didn't want to overstimulate you. What else? I mean, I am looking forward to, quote-unquote, to Arknight's Enfield at some point, but I'm honestly still not sure if I'm actually going to actively play it, because from what I played of it, it seems interesting, but potentially a pain in the ass for a live service game, and I'm not sure if I will have the time and stuff. So we'll see. For other games, are there any games that I'm really looking forward to? I'm not sure. I mean, for a TV series, I'm looking forward to finally seeing the second season of Andor, which might or might not.
Oh yeah, that would be one I would.
I actually had a very fun tweet about that recently that I have to share with you later.
I heard that like a second season for Arcane is now out completely or something.
It finished already, I think.
Yeah, I mean completely out. That's what I understood.
Yeah, and I think it ended the series from what I heard.
Which is okay. I might look this at some point because I did enjoy the first season a lot actually. It's
yeah, I still need to watch that.
Especially since I don't know what it was, but Arcane was really, really incredible just visually. And I think I wasn't that much excited about combat scenes for a long time when I saw that one. That was truly amazing. I actually would like to just watch some of these scenes again.
But Felix, you know, if you finished Arcane Season 2, you have to start playing League of Legends.
No, I don't have to do that, and I won't. I will never. Honestly, I don't know anything about League of Legends, and I honestly don't care. But I just watched Arcane, and it was cool.
Felix. I've never played League of Legends, but I have played Dota. Dota 1, like the Warcraft 3.
The only bad thing about Arcane is that it commits some people to play League of Legends. Yeah.
Yeah, the thing is, I mean, I did enjoy Dota 1 a bit back in the day in terms of like the mechanics are cool, the entire game.
I spent half a year in Japan doing an internship, and I shared a very small apartment with some guy playing League of Legends, and it was a very small apartment, so he essentially was right next to me, and I heard how angry he got at playing League of Legends, and that's also why I decided, no. Also, I don't play online games. It's just a matter of fact, and I probably will never stop playing online games. I'm a very weird gamer. I only play single player games.
Remember how I was sometimes justifiably passionate while playing Duelist.
Yeah.
League of Legends for most people is on average like 10 times worse, I think.
Yeah.
Because you also get angry with your teammates. And yeah, no. I mean, again, I enjoyed playing some Dota in my late teens, early 20s. The Warcraft 3 map. But at some point I was like, yeah, no, I should stop doing this. It's fun in a way, it's interesting.
Hannah, did you see this amazing this amazing joke about Andor?
Which one?
From
Andor, yeah, Andor.
Amazing.
Oh yeah, Andor.
Oh man, this is amazing. Holy shit, I never realized that. That's funny how I can remember this name now. Also, like the 5 Moon said, very excited about Alabaster Dawn. Hope it's going to be as good or better than Crosscode. I enjoyed Crosscode since its launch, and I hope you all the best. Thank you so much. Well, we also hope it will be as good or better than Crosscode, obviously, though it's a hard, how do you say, a hard step to fill. I don't know. There was a saying.
Big shoes to fill, or what?
Big shoes to fill, to some extent. I mean, yeah. Like, I'm already preparing for some people liking Crosscode more than Alabaster Dawn because it's gonna happen. Do not play League. Okay.
Yeah.
Message received.
You should never play League. No, seriously. Like, don't. Especially if you're like a newcomer to the genre.
Yeah.
You will get so many people who will be annoyed with you because you suck, and then you will be annoyed by other people because they're annoyed with you, and some also suck from your perspective.
Yeah.
At some point. No, it's not fun. Don't do it.
Okay. And also, Ace12345 asks, how many music tracks will there be compared to Crosscode? Exactly 2 more. There, they know it. No, we don't know. It's again, that's another thing that's really hard to estimate properly.
Wow, we planned that.
Might be more. It's not unlikely there will be more. It really depends on how much time our composer will have for us and a lot of things.
Yep. By the way, fun fact: we have been consistently like slightly over 100 viewers for the entire.
Oh, nice! I somehow forgot to just look at the numbers this time at all.
I mean, you shouldn't. It's not important. It's just a little fun fact about it. Overcooked. Yeah. It's also wonderful.
I do not have connection latency.
Speaking of getting angry with your teammates, the people of the people of Arknights had the genius idea to put in another co-op mode event. Like, it's only the second one they ever did, but it sure is annoying to try and do that again because, man, fuck co-op modes. Will Alabaster Dawn have character-themed music like in Crosscode? I'm sure it might happen here and there. There will be another Ahoge Waltz, but we won't have an Ahoge character. What are we doing? There will be a Flufhair Waltz.
Flufhair,
Flufhair.
Okay, this looks good. It's just that here they need to be a bit higher. This one, those need to be a bit higher. Like this. Okay. So let's see. Okay, yeah, that looks good. That's how we do the growing. We just take our trees and we place a apply some scaling animations. That was actually like a huge, like I didn't expect this to work so well. Honestly, I was kind of surprised. Here's like something which makes this a little bit tricky. Sometimes you have those nodes sticking out, but it's actually very easy to fix that. You just take the node and you put it somewhere else. And it's fixed.
Also, are you all looking for the Game Awards?
No.
Okay.
Okay.
But at least we have one legit competitor for most important influencer or best influencer. Or content. I don't know what the category is. I forget. Content creator or something.
So now all I need to do in theory is actually create another tree character. Yeah, actually make characters of all those trees here.
Felix, what software is this? Hey guys,
what software is this? This is an editor for a custom game engine that we created. The editor is called Weltmeister because we are the masters of this world. It's a pun.
We're also German.
We're also German. What was so? Yeah, it's just our game engine really. It's all running on web technologies. Also, we have a raid.
Oh, great.
We got a raid. Oh my gosh, it's wow.
Finley Fish.
First time the Finley Fish. Wow, it's a We Love Crosscode raid. We Love Crosscode raid. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for raiding our stream. That's it's very nice of you. Thank you.
I just now noticed that Leah has like this special surprised face when the raid comes.
The Lazy Enigma asks, so you are layering bushes for the tree in a way. Yes, I can quickly, later I can show you why we do that. I will assemble this later. And then Saber Mage asks, what was your approach to writing the story and lore of Crosscode, including all the different story events? Are there any particular tools or organizational methods that worked really well for you? Oh boy, that's a long question to answer. Let me maybe first look at what's happening here. There's a lot of people saying Crosscode and thank you, and we absolutely Crosscode. I'm super excited to see the new project. Thank you so much. I hope that you will like what you see. Ace 1 2 3 4 5 asks, will trees be playable characters? Actually, no, there will not be.
Did you answer this lore question? Like, what was your approach to writing the story? And
no, I didn't yet, but maybe you can answer that one.
Including all the different story events. Are there any particular tools or organizational methods that worked well for you? I mean, to be honest, in Crosscode, aside from the core storyline, it was all very laissez-faire with how we did it. Like,
yeah.
A lot of side quests were basically like Stefan or me being like, okay, what could we do?
That sounds funny. Let's do this. Yeah, they just thought of stuff.
That sounds funny. Yeah, there was not that much planning for that. And for the core story, we had some talks about that. We, of course, wrote stuff down. In some... I think back then we
there have been mind maps. I remember that in the beginning I worked a lot with mind maps, which I think is a good idea to collect ideas and visualize them in a way. So let's see if that works well. Well, works well. I would say that's done. Nice. I just still need to explain what I actually did here. But yeah, it's we didn't use really specific tools. Really, we had an outline for the story. A lot of details were decided on the go, and I still think that's a good approach because if you give things a lot of time, that you will have to actually develop the whole story is that you might realize that some things in context look weird or don't fit quite as well. So it's always good to iterate over things as you develop the whole thing. And a lot of scenes and details were just written shortly before I put them in the game, right? So we mostly just write stuff chronologically too. Like a lot of stuff was just developed chronologically because of early access. You kind of had to do that, but again, I also think that has some advantages since it allows you to really see things in context, and you might tweak things to fit in the context better. So yeah, that's one of these things. Maybe I can think of some example, like Emily hating bugs, 100% improvised. The first dungeon had bugs, and I needed something funny to happen with Emily, and that's why she hated bugs. And I just rolled with that, and I just decided, okay, what can we do with that? So the jungle was obviously like a theme, because you would expect bugs to be in the jungle, but there weren't. And then in the last area suddenly there were bugs, and it was like it's just fit, and this was not planned ahead. I'm not even sure we decided to do bugs in last area because of Emily. I think this just happened. And then it just happened that we had this whole thing about Emily going crazy in Sapphire Ridge. I think there's other examples, like honestly, even like the whole story of Lair and how everything happened. I mean, to be fair, like the whole story twist that was planned ahead quite a long time. But it didn't start like this. Honestly, it actually started with hey, let's make a game about throwing balls, and we just came up with a setting where we could fit this kind of gameplay, and that's how we got into the MMO thing. And then there was like this random thought of having a mute protagonist with a twist, and that kind of evolved into Leah's background story, and then we came up with all these kind of emotional twists that kind of like derived out of the setting, right? So we never went ahead and said, hey, let's make this cool emotional scene somehow happen. It's more like, hey, this is a setting, so what can we do with a setting that really is interesting? And then we just came up with this idea. So it was always kind of out of the context. Was a twist about who Leah is decided? Yeah, this one was very early. Like as soon as we started thinking about the story and the characters, Leah was essentially the first character we came up with, and that was decided pretty early that there will be this kind of twist. Have you thought about making party members playable or having classes? No, honestly, we only came, like the whole class system was really just something we added because we wanted to make the MMO seem somewhat more believable. And ever since we came up that people ask about, hey, can I play other classes? And that's something we never considered doing. And the whole game is not really balanced around that. And there's now mods creating playable characters with the other classes, which is impressive and awesome, but it really never was our goal to make an MMO. As much as a lot of people want that, it's really just a setting for the game, honestly. And I think if you really tried to make an MMO out of it, you would realize it's not such a great MMO.
No way.
Okay.
We didn't secretly also develop like thoughts about how an actual MMO would work. What?
So, okay, let me just put the light source here, you can see it a little bit better. I love how we can use the light system to just highlight stuff like this. This is such a useful stuff you can do now. Just to explain why I split the leaves in 3 steps, so maybe you can slow down, you can see it here. I actually use that to fade in the leaves in 3 steps. So you can see that first, like the bark of the tree is kind of transformed. It's glowing a little bit. And you can see that we just fade out one of the mesh, which is rendered in front of the other mesh. Then we make like the leaves up there disappear. And then you can see that some leaves appear, then some more leaves appear, and then like the last few leaves appear. And essentially we just split it in 3 parts, so it's more like a transition, so they don't just appear all at once. That's pretty much it, really. That's all there is to it. That's how we get growing trees. Okay, so that one is done. Next I can try to make a bush work. Let's see. That shouldn't be as much work, I hope. So we got the 3 bushes here, and then we got the Nix variant somewhere here. There we go. No, that's another one. Yeah, that's the one. Bush here, 1 Nix. That's a Nix variant. So let's just take the large one and the second large one and just make a transform version. Okay. So those are just a couple billboards. So that's okay. Okay, it seems our story was very insightful. I'm glad to hear that, honestly. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, it's like planning is good to some extent, but yeah, there's always like a downside of over planning. If you do too much too soon. At least I think so. Okay, so we got this one. Now I will just copy this here over. Okay, that's root Nix. This is part 1, part 2. And I need to somehow do an animation, which might be a bit more tricky this time. But we can try. So
in many ways I feel like crosscode is an encapsulation of an ideal MMO experience. So I have to wonder, given you never play online games, what made you decide on the setting? Is Crosswords the ideal MMO that would convince you to play online games if existed? I think that's mostly for Felix because
yeah, the thing is, I mean, to be fair, I did play some online games in the past. I just don't play them anymore. I did play some MMOs, though really not that much. I did play some Ragnarok Online back in the day, so I know what it looked like when all the people were sitting around over the towns and all that. I did play some during my early studies. I played a lot of cheap Chinese free MMOs, you know, these kind of, or Asian MMOs, you know, like from Korea and China and all these kind of, and you know, was never like such a great experience. I did watch .hack, so I knew like the rough setting. In any case, even when back then when I watched .hack, I kind of thought, like I also like in a lot of isekais that we watched back then and all that, I always got this feeling that one thing I didn't like about how MMOs were portrayed in those anime or movies or whatever is that people always took it way too serious. People were role playing like crazy, and I thought, geez, that's not like an MMO at all. It's like they should maybe do this a bit more casually. They don't need to be perfectly in character and all. Like they would totally talk about stuff that's outside of the MMO, right? So it's like, and that's always what I always thought was strange. So when I started CrossGo, that was one of the first things I wanted to do different in terms of writing. I wanted to make it feel like an actual MMO. So like something that people play to relax. And obviously they're interested in the story, like some people more than others. Apollo is one example who's role-playing like crazy. Emily is like the opposite, like she doesn't care. She just wants to have fun. And you know, I just wanted to make it feel like a bit more believable in that sense. And like you don't really need to like that much experience in MMOs in order to do that. I feel like it's mostly about having a rough idea.
You know, that's the reason why Sword Art Online Alternative is so good, because they don't take it actually is. You have some people who take it very seriously, but not the role-playing aspect, but just the competitive aspect rather. Yeah. And then you have people who are just like, yeah, I'm just doing whatever.
Okay.
It was super fun. I mean, the bigger idea would rather be something like Log Horizon, but we actually only watched that like a few years into CrossGo development.
Yeah, like the whole thing was planned long before. We actually watched Isekais, and I actually never watched Sword Art Online. That's kind of like the thing. So I would mostly say .hack was an inspiration for me. I mean, under planning is quite as much an issue, obviously. And yeah, it is a tricky thing to get right. There's like I just think it's important to not get stuck up in details. Like something you really don't need is like a precise dialogue for a scene that happens way later. Like you can do a lot of stuff just using bullet points, right? And you can fill in the gaps later as you go. So just getting the bullet points, getting the rough idea right, that's the important thing. That's why I think having mind maps to plan a story is helpful. Doing, you know, graphs rather than writing a lot of text with a lot of details. That's usually what I prefer to work with. Yeah, this is actually one good example. This whole story about Emily being pissed at Leah when she comes back, I'm 100% sure that was not planned ahead of time. Honestly, we didn't think about this too much, and this really was something where, honestly, I'm not even sure it was planned that Apollo and Jörn joined the party. I don't think that was planned.
I'm not entirely sure. I think it was planned at some point, but
yeah, at some point, obviously, at some point. But I'm not sure that Apollo joining your party was actually the thing we wanted to do in the beginning. I think we just put those characters in, and then at some point, we kind of realized that would be actually kind of an interesting twist, and it would make sense in context that Emily would be angry at you because of misunderstandings, and then Leah being in the sad position and actually Apollo joining her party. So that, I think that was really something that wasn't really planned very early. So that, I think that happened over time where we decided to do that. I have to check again. I'm not sure if you can check that, but yeah. the irony about Crosscode is that the setting, it tries to be an MMO, like in a way that you kind of like believe that's a setting, right? So it's not a perfect MMO because ultimately we wanted the focus was about telling the story for Leia. That was the important thing. It's also a single player action RPG. That was always like the genre we were going for. But the setting also to some extent made it tricky to tell a story that is well paced. At some point there's like a lot of stuff where you're just going through the game and you're just playing through the MMO story, but you're actually much more invested into Leia stories, at least for some players that's the case. But it was actually kind of tricky to reasonably pull Leia back into her, like into the part of the story that is about her. Like just thinking about the perspective from the antagonist and everything, it was kind of tricky to make that work. And that's why I think pacing wise, the Crosscode story wasn't always ideal. Like the whole Gaia's Garden section went on too long for a lot of players. And that's also obviously we put too many dungeons one after another. But it's also, it was kind of hard to argue that, you know, Leia's story will continue right away, and like there's a lot of stuff happening in between where, you know, for instance, the designer could just show up over and over again and try to do some weird shit. But the thing is, if you overdo these kind of things, it would kind of feel a little bit too ridiculous in my opinion. It's like, you know, this is an MMO, like you cannot just have like a god figure going into the game doing weird stuff to Leia without like the administrators or moderators noticing and doing banning stuff. So like there was always like the kind of thinking, how could, you know, the antagonist do stuff to Leia in a reasonable way that things would not just be uncovered and the whole thing would go open and everything would break down, right? Because the antagonists were doing something stealthily, which is, in my opinion, the only way you can have reasonable antagonists in an MMO. I always hated the idea that, oh, it's an MMO, but the people who run the MMO are actually the bad guys. Like, this is so stupid. Like, how can you even think about running a game played by 1,000 players and then you just, I don't know, lock them away? I really think the Sword Art Online plot, like the basis plot, was so stupid.
Yeah.
Like, I never got over this. It's
microwave helmets.
Yeah. This was so stupid, honestly. And like that, I'm not even sure. I think I heard about this only after I started with the Crosscode plot. But to me, it was important to have antagonists that are kind of reasonable. Like, it makes sense they can do stuff to the people in the game without it being, you know, unrealistic. And, you know, they would have been banned immediately. Like, it doesn't make any sense. And what do I want to say? Yeah, but for that reason, it was actually kind of tricky to have an effective antagonists that did a lot of things which made the story exciting. Like, they had to be careful about how they pulled Leia out of the game, because otherwise, in my opinion, it would have been too ridiculous. And that's why you have once this moment where Leia was pulled out and all this interesting stuff happens, then she's back in the game, and, you know, they shouldn't be able to just pull her back immediately, you know. Like, it would have been weird. At least that was my thinking. And that's why it ended up being a story where you had like this big story moment. You go out again, and then there's no more story moment. And then there's a conclusion at the end. And that pacing wise was tricky to work with. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to do something else for Alabaster Dawn, because the MMO setting is, in my opinion, a little bit tricky to work with because of stuff like that. Kuba said, for my eyes, you have cheaters in online games that are hard to ban on spot, so it can happen that designer will hunt Lear and moderators not bother, as Lear is just another random player. Yeah, I don't know. I didn't like this kind of thinking personally. That's why I didn't go with that way. I mean, there's another reason, like doing a story like that would have been more tricky in many ways, and I think to some extent it was also kind of like a balance act to actually make the game feasible to finish. Rectagon asks, do you ever struggle with motivation when you come to working on Alabaster Dawn? I feel like it's rather common for people to experience some kind of mental setback at some point, especially with such long-term projects, though I'm sure some working in a group does alleviate this somehow. By the way, meeting you guys at Gamescom this year was really great. Hope you're doing well. So yes, there's always moments where you'll feel less motivated. To be frank, I think especially this year, Stefan never struggles with motivation. That's good to know. At least one of our team doesn't. I mean, honestly, I did have a lot of moments like this. I did have this at times with Crosscode 2, where I had moments where I felt this is not good and I'm feeling demotivated. I had this with Alabaster Dawn as well, specifically this year. And honestly, it's really hard sometimes to tell why this happens. There can be a lot of reasons for this, and they're not necessarily connected to the game itself. So just for context, I became father this year, and you know, becoming father is like a really tricky situation in many ways. Lack of sleep, like your kind of like your daily rhythm changes. A lot of things change in your life when you do that. And I think this also put a lot of pressure on me, and I think that's maybe part of the reason why I sometimes had a hard time working on the game and felt kind of demotivated. But it may have been just that we have been working on so many things, and for a long time it felt like the game wasn't really coming together at all. But I think this year we decided to actually finally get ready to wrap up this vertical slice, and we more or less did. We now have a vertical slice of the game, and I think that really helped a lot for me to be more motivated again. And you know, but that in the end, I think it's normal to feel demotivated when you work on stuff, even especially when it goes on for a long time, and it's yeah, it's just tricky. Sometimes you have to force yourself to do stuff. And sometimes you really want to work on stuff, and sometimes you just have to sit down and do one step after another and get into the flow, essentially. What does vertical slice mean? Vertical slice means that you focus on implementing all major features so that it can demonstrate what the game is roughly about, but you don't necessarily have the whole content. In our case, we wanted to really show this, like all the different gameplay styles that Alabaster Dawn features, which are the more narrow style fighting Nyx phases, the more open exploration phases where you can do quests, and finally the dungeons. So we had to finish all of 3 of those and also get most of the features ready to like how the combat will look like, the different combat moves you can do, like a reasonable set of the weapons, all of this. And that's like this year we finally got all of this connected. Before that we had the Nyx phase was done for a longer time already. The open exploration phase was always kind of half done. Like a lot of gaps were missing here and there, and this year we finally managed to put all of this together, and that honestly feels really good. At least to me, like, I'm the kind of developer, I need to see that things are working. And for me, it's incredibly hard to work with very rough states. That's why I tend to, in general, like, we tend to polish a lot. And I do know that some other people work very effectively by not polishing. I understood that in Chained Echoes, they just rushed all the content and then polished afterwards. And that can work very well as well. But I need to see if something would be good in principle, and that includes polishing stuff, so you can see that the polished state actually works. That's why I needed to have a polished vertical slice to really feel motivated. And we got another raid today, the very busy stream tonight here. Thanks for Alice33 for raiding us, saying Pet Squad raid. Thank you for raiding us. Welcome everybody. This is today, it's more like a talking stream, less of a doing stuff stream, I have to admit.
I mean, you did some stuff.
Yeah, I did some stuff, yeah. Maybe I can show like a little bit. We are currently working on nature transformations. Here you can see how nature transforms. Oh boy. Look at this.
Oh boy.
Grass is growing. Trees are growing. Wow. Such transformation. Yeah, things are happening. But yeah, thanks for dropping by. We're working on Alabaster Dawn. We did crosscode before. If you didn't know that, yeah.
I didn't.
You didn't? My.
By the way, it's really funny. I'm on this one Discord that I'm like most active on. Like it's a manga podcast Discord, and most people there know that I worked on. That I'm working in game development, that I've worked on crosscode. But still, sometimes it's just every few months there's like some random guy saying, and like a guy who it's like on the server for like a long time. He's like, wait, you worked on crosscode? Like, yeah. Yes, I did. So, wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's a cool thing.
Very, very funny.
Okay, so I cannot probably scale this one, and only can squish this bush.
Felix, I'm doing something very important right now.
What am I doing?
No, I'm doing something very important right now.
Okay.
Yes, I'm doing my Arknights dailies.
Stefan was playing Dragon Age.
Oh yeah. Oh nice. Then the new Dragon Age. I'm doing sweep nodes of the enemy that can sweep.
Nice.
You know what can also sweep?
No.
Felix?
No.
Alabaster Dawn at the Game Awards in a few years.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Maybe.
Wouldn't that be nice? You must be like this one manga. We need to win the Game Awards. That is just the start.
Felix, I'm like going by how it's doing in the rankings and stuff like that. I don't think it will be there at the end of the year.
I wonder why that is, honestly.
Yeah, it's just not very good. Okay, it will most likely, I think it will end like in January or February when the next rotation comes in, but it's not doing very well in the rankings.
Yeah, I mean, from what I saw of this manga, I'm not really all that.
Yeah, it's not just how it's not just how it treated the game dev scene, but also the series just wasn't very interesting in terms of like the characters and the story and all of that. So that Obsidian game, which one? Pillars of Eternity? Oh, what was this one Obsidian game, which was relatively recent? Obsidian game.
Baldur's Gate.
Right. They made the Baldur's Gate.
Okay.
Baldur's Gate 3.
Yeah.
I totally forgot that they did that one.
Okay, so
I mean, the more controversial pick for Game Awards was like the Elden Ring DLC, because it was a DLC and new fresh game, but yeah, the ghosts are divorcing themselves over that one.
What? Oh my god! Oh my gosh, Hannah! Oh my gosh! Seriously, no! Oh my gosh! This one is so bad. Holy shit! You can't do this. Nobody understands what you mean, Hannah. The ghosts are divorcing themselves. All that, Jesus. It's a weird saying now that you're saying it like this. It's,
yeah, I know. Basically, to explain the pun, it's in German you say die Geister scheiden sich das darüber. It means something like the ghosts are having split opinions, like split opinions are about this thing. And you see, scheiden can also mean divorce. Aha. Yeah, I mean, I'm not angry about that, aside from me not really caring about the awards anyway. It's just a bit annoying that they put it in so many categories, where there could also be many other valid choices. Like one category that I found a bit not surprising that they did it, but a bit disappointing is that for the category of art direction, they also put the Elden Ring DLC in there, which of course it has good art direction, but I mean, they could have also put like Unicorn Overlord in that one, because that game also has like really, really good art direction, and it would have diversified the category a bit to have like at least one really cool and really gorgeous pixel art or 2D 2D graphics game in there. But again, it's like Game Boy, who cares? And the second big controversial pick, which I think has less excuses, is that they put Manor Lords in one of the categories, which, as far as I understand, is a great game, and it's great that they that it's trying to revive that genre a bit. But it's an early access game, and I don't think they really should put early access games in the Game Awards. I think maybe, I don't know. It's a bit strange, but I don't know. Whatever. The important part is that people should vote for Usada Pekora for best influencer, best content creator, whatever. I don't know.
I don't agree.
Who would you vote for best influencer or content creator?
I don't know.
The one
guy.
Bearded guy, or the other bearded guy, or the third bearded guy, or the fourth bearded guy?
Definitely the third one.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a clear choice, I know.
Okay. What if previous live promises persisted in a New Game Plus? What do you mean, previous live promises?
Also, I have to say, I mean, even if those old guys are just bearded guys, I mean, isn't that a bit shallow? To just say, they're bearded guys, they're not interesting. I want to elect my colorful anime waifu.
Felix, so. I was just making jokey jokes, of course.
Sure.
And one of them is even like an Indian streamer, from what I understand. Like an Indian streamer who has like an insane amount of viewers and subscribers. Which is, of course, already a thing that differentiates him from the others. Same for someone being like a super popular Latin American streamer. Like most English language viewers will like think, who is that guy? But he might still be super relevant because he might have a ton of...
Saber Mike asked a new home. Will it ever come to Switch? Wait, is the new home not for...
I think it is on Switch.
It should be on Switch.
I don't think we had like...
Yeah, like it has been out for some time, I think. It's yeah. I would be confused.
Union in a previous life. What do you mean? A union in a previous life? Like a labor union?
I wonder how many VTuber references will be there in Alabaster Dawn. 0. If I can. Unless Hannah can hide them.
At least one already.
Still need to remove that.
It's very subtle and you wouldn't recognize it.
God damn it.
I think even VTuber
I'm
fans
sad Rebirth is gonna get kinda screwed because it's actually so good. Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think Rebirth is kind of impressive. What they pulled off there. Like, I didn't finish it still. But it's just a really impressive game from what I played. It's like, it's just really good. Like when honestly, like when you ask me what is important about a JRPG, they just nailed it this time, at least in my opinion. But I don't know.
But is it better than Final Fantasy 13?
I mean, yeah.
Okay.
By a lot. I guess it's to some extent it's a lot about, if you know FF5E7, it might be nostalgia. There might be a lot of nostalgia there that makes it so great. But I don't know, like it's not just nostalgia. Like a lot of stuff about this game is just really impressive.
And recently there was like this tweet that I showed you about like how there were only 4 years between Final Fantasy 7 and Final Fantasy 10, but like a massive jump in like graphics quality and stuff like that. It's really quite insane. And also how many Final Fantasy games they put out every year back then.
Oh yeah. Back then there were. Yeah, it's actually kind of insane how fast they released games.
Final Fantasy 7 was like 97, and Final Fantasy 10 was 2001. So you had like 4 years, and there were 2 more Final Fantasy games, like big Final Fantasy games that came out between those 3 or 4 years. Yeah, it's like, damn. And these days you usually take like 3 or 4 years for one of those games, at least. If you think about it. Just
God save me from the fucking drum. Oh, I don't think I reached that part yet. At least I don't remember any drum.
Final Fantasy 9 was 99 and 8, I mean. 8 was 99 and 9 was 2000.
Yeah.
Okay, makes sense. So 9 was at the very end of the PS1 era, and 10 was at the beginning of the PS2 era. So yeah. That makes sense.
I mean, making games these days just is a whole lot more work. I mean, if you just look at like the amount of work you have to put into a AAA game, it's kind of, I get why it takes longer.
And there's a lot of like diminishing results going on, I think.
Yeah, like for the Red Stick says, for the combat, I would land somewhere between Remake and Rebirth personally, but either way, that combat system is best of the entire franchise. Emo, I kind of agree. I honestly think like the combat system in 5.7 Remake is just, and Rebirth, it's really impressive in many ways. It's a really cool compromise of having, as I said, like they actually really nail party combat in a way, because they really make you switch between party members. There's a lot of advantage of doing this. There's a lot of interaction of party members. They do stuff like enemies will grab your party member, so you have to switch to free the party member. That's just, it's really clever stuff. A lot of good things there. And I always liked this whole thing. Like, honestly, I think a lot in some way, unironically, that's one of the things I really liked about FF13. I hate this game for a lot of ways, but I kind of like this whole stagger thing. And they kept doing the whole thing, fortunately, even though FF13 may not be the most well-received game, but the stagger mechanic I kind of liked. Just this whole thing about, filling a bar so enemy is broken down. So you have to always think about a way on how to fill this bar. Like there is some strategy always, and it's very explicit in a way. And they just kept using this for a lot of their games, including 5.7 Rebirth and Remake. And especially in Rebirth, I kind of felt like especially after playing 5Z16, which is in comparison so freaking dumb. Like, this game has amazing action combat, but just no strategy, like in terms of you can't just kill bombers using fire magic. By the way, I think the playlist is empty.
Oh, maybe. Give me a second. I'm gonna.
Did you put something in there again, or did you not?
I did at some point, but definitely ended and some other stuff played
Yeah.
after that.
Yeah. But yeah, FF7, like in 16, you could just do whatever. Like, it didn't matter with what you were attacking. It was mostly about using your moves that you had in the most effective way and just dodging the enemies. That's all the strategy you had, you know. Not unlike a lot of action games, I would say. But FF7, Rebirth, and Remake 2, obviously, they really have still this very basic, you know, it's weak to this element and strong against this element. But also, like, you have to dodge the enemy in this attack and then it becomes weak and you can do stuff. Or like, you have to do a strong combat move against this enemy and it becomes weak. And it's all really simple stuff, but it makes the combat so much more engaging to me because I actually need to react to the enemies. I need to understand what I need to do in order to kill them quicker. And they do this with almost every enemy. And that's honestly really impressive. And then they do this clever thing about you have those enemies and you can fight them whatever, but then they have combat challenges where you actually have to do the right thing in order to complete the challenge. And it's, you know, it's very basic. You just keep fighting the enemies, but it kind of like really forces you to look into those enemies and do the right thing. And to me, that was really fun at times. Like, it was nice seeing that there's a lot of depth into like all that combat. And honestly, you didn't have this in FF7, 5v7. Like, there was some strategy, but not quite as much as you had in FF7 Rebirth. And that's, I don't know, like at some point I was really impressed with this game. I thought, damn, maybe I should stop playing this game, otherwise I just feel unworthy. How are we supposed to do this better? Sometimes I felt this a little bit playing this game. Yeah. Yeah, I agree actually. Remake was also a great game, but it did have pacing issues. Some of the dungeons were just going on for too long and it was repeating itself a little bit too much, and Rebirth is really a lot better in that regard. Yeah, I mean, definitely. Rebirth really did improve on a lot of things compared to Remake. But yeah. Yeah. Okay, so I'm not doing stuff. I'm just reading text. That's
I mean, that's also important doing this.
I mean, it's a game dev stream, so. Okay.
But I mean, it is already relatively late. So
yeah, maybe in half an hour I can stop. I think we can go until 11. The baby now has a later sleep rhythm. It's not quite as bad. He wakes up around 8:30, so it's fine if you go to bed. Or even 9 o'clock sometimes, I heard. Yeah, he's slowly turning into an owl finally. I mean, honestly, if I go by amount of work done per hour, the game dev streams are not productive, obviously. So it's really more, it's like a thing we do to just like, because it's fun and also to show people that we are alive and doing stuff, Okay, something I wanted to do is say if this is false. No, okay. Okay, this is pretty good. Okay, now this all works, but I would like those to be a bit higher in the order. 5, 10, 15. That's fine. That one is fine. Okay, yeah, now it's over the... That looks good. True. Okay, don't do anything. Alright, that works. Bear one is moving. Okay. Let's try to do this. I at least want to have the bush transformation. That would be a good thing to at least be able to see. So at least I did that. Net transform. Here we go. It's a bush. Oh yeah, good night, Stefan.
Night.
What is this out?
Huh?
Fuck you, you aren't my mom. Put his teeth out there. I watched Dev stream, and to add water assistant to Alabaster, the Zijun already knows the pattern of this. Okay. That freaking meme, I remember, yeah. Somehow I never saw that before though. Let me just retweet that. Right, last stream we did the weather effect. It's now part of the game and it works, though I think it's still raining way too much. Still need to go over that at some point. Okay, so let's do this. It's the bush.
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 Bush. I will always say bush probably. Bush. Freaking English. Okay. So. Honestly, I will not show the whole seed thing here because that's a bit too much.
Oh god, that's a tweet by Kovac that you reposted.
Yeah, it's good.
Dodging the rain. Amazing. Oh, we forgot something really important, Felix, that you need to do.
No.
That you need to do according to what other successful indie developers are doing on live streams. You need to explain why certain things are happening.
How we amass wealth or what?
We need to amass wealth.
Yeah, great.
Because we need more money for
We're
anime.
back to Limbo's company. Okay.
That was really funny. Who did the sound effects in Crosscode? Did you have any particular goals for the sounds? They should make noise.
That would be one thing, yeah.
I mean, Teflora made a lot of the sounds, but we also had like some other sound.
Who did the sound effect in Crosscode? Did you have
Iron was one of the sounds.
Yeah, Iron did some sounds. Most of the sounds were done by Flora. I'm not sure if he had like a particular goal in mind. I think we worked with references and just went with case by case and see what kind of fits and sounds good. It's a bit hard to say, honestly. I think this time for Alabaster Dawn, I think Flora has certain approaches in mind that she wants to go for when it comes to sound design. Like, I think she mentioned like something called hyperrealism, that she goes in this direction. So there's actually a lot of realism to the sounds this time, but accelerated in some way, from what I understood. I would say that the environment sounds in Alabaster Dawn are like a lot more involved, I would say. There's actually... It's actually really quite good, honestly. Just going around, having no music can sound really impressive in Alabaster Dawn. There's like a lot of sounds going. There's also a lot of stuff you do with spatial audio. And kind of like really feels like you're in the world there. So like really a lot of stuff happened there, I would say. I mean, honestly, yeah, like Flora did a good job, especially when it comes to the destructibles and a lot of things. So sounds effects are really important, honestly. Like you really need to like they can make a huge difference. Like not too long ago I saw some video of some turn-based RPGs that are developed. I think there was like a Japanese turn-based RPG that looked like it was based on RPG Maker, and I only watched it on my phone silent, and it was actually really impressive. Like a lot of cool animations and effects and freeze frames. I thought, oh man, that looks really flashy, really cool. And then sometime later I saw videos from this game but with sound, and I realized, oh damn, those are RPG Maker sound effects. And it's kind of impressive how much less impressive it suddenly felt just because of those sound effects. Because they're like RPG Maker sound effects are really bare bone in many ways, and maybe because like it's somehow nostalgia, but it's really sound effects make a huge difference sometimes in how things feel. And it's and the nice thing about sound effects is you don't really need the amount of variation and attention to detail, I would argue, that you have when it comes to graphic. Like you need to some very good sounds, and you can reuse very good sounds like crazy. Like find some very good hit sounds, you can use those all over the place. Find some good explosion sounds, you can use those all the time, and it will just make things sound a lot better, and it will make a huge difference. So it's not like you have perfectly matching sounds everywhere. You just need good bass sounds essentially, and that helps a whole lot, I think. Obviously having more variation always helps, but I think just having a good foundation is just pretty much already a huge deal. Okay, will I ever get this bush transformed? I don't think so, if it goes on like this. Okay, we don't...
Okay, I think I did the sweep now. God, it's like a large sweep. Holy shit. I think we should basically make sweep nodes for all the figures that can actually do sweep attacks, right?
Sorry, what?
We should basically do sweep nodes for all the figures for enemies.
Yeah. You need to do this for all.
Yeah.
It's the only way you can get clean sweeps. Not all enemies to sweeps though. It's but
yeah, of course. I just made it for the Bow cow.
Okay. So this one is, I think, this one. Oh man. Part 2, part 3. I need to remove part 3 first. Then part 2 and then last part 1. Yeah. So this is part 3. Then part 1 for part 2, and then in parallel. I may not even need this, honestly. Part 1, the tree leaves appear. Blobby will work. Don't need this, don't need this. Okay, let's see how that looks. Okay, you know. Yeah, it works. It's good enough for me.
Not good enough.
Shrug. Please.
Shrug is like a harsh critic. I'm sorry.
He's very harsh, yeah. Okay, I think I know why that is. Ah, yeah. That's why it looks weird. Okay, let's try this again. Ah, yeah, that's better. Okay, here we go. But it's just shiny effects and all that. And I think the trick will be to have multiple of those showing up in the sequence. Do you guys anticipate a hard time porting to consoles this time, or have things gotten better for HTML5 games on consoles yet? I wouldn't say that things got better for HTML5 in general, though I did hear that Xbox is apparently doing something that makes it a lot easier to port web stuff. But you know, getting on the other consoles is still very tricky. But we tried to do things to make it easier to port the game. We switched to TypeScript. We try to be very consistent in annotating types in TypeScript. And that should make it easier to translate the code into another code base in another language. And that in turn will make it easier to do the porting. You're working with the same guy who did the cross-code port. And so hopefully things will be more seamless this time, but we have to wait and see. Yeah, I think this one, I can probably add a delay to this so it doesn't happen too quickly. Let's see what is this. Yeah, I think that's actually better. So you actually don't ever see... There's probably more we can do here, honestly. I actually have an idea on how to make this look better. Let me try this for the last 15 minutes. How to make the nature transition look better here. Somehow I'm not 100% satisfied with that, and I want to try something. So let me just say brush, that's the thing, and here we are. Okay, so I will call this brush appear leaves. I can actually, here, that's something I can do. I can just go to source plans. Then I can just take the brush, and here you can see how it looks like. Okay, so enough for the tree. There was a lot of billboards that I can just swip over and everything. If Xbox makes things easier for HTML5 games, perhaps the other console will follow in the future. There's a lot of great games being made with HTML5 engines, especially now with Web GPU. This should be better. I would be very happy if HTML5 got more popular. And I do know that there's more and more games happening that do use web technology. There's engines like, what is it, Construct 2 and following versions, which use web technology and all that, and people use that. Essentially Construct. And yeah, it would be amazing if consoles would support this more. The irony is that Nintendo at some point did, but not in a good way, and then they stopped the support again. So, Sword of Convalaria. It's a gacha game. Do you know this one, Hannah?
Not by name. Where's is it mentioned anywhere?
No, it was mentioned in the chat.
Yeah, but I can't see it right now.
So
sort of. Is it the one that ProJared made advertisements for?
Honestly, if talking about web stuff again, Edge is not bad. I mean, honestly, if you have a good, up-to-date, optimized Edge browser in Xbox, it's probably enough to run crosscode, probably enough to run Alabaster Dawn. Heck, it's because I mean, you just need to enable the optimization. The irony is that at some point they did have a browser and they just didn't optimize it. That means no fast JavaScript, which is essential, right? So you need that. It needs to be as well optimized as on a PC. That's just essential. And if they do that, I mean, Edge is pretty much like Chrome in terms of performance. So that's fine. I'm not sure if that would be good enough for a handheld console like Switch though. I mean, essentially, yeah, most browsers are Chromium except for Safari and Firefox. And as far as I understood, Safari is now the new Internet Explorer. It's like the bad browser.
So yeah, Felix.
Yeah.
Actually, I do know Sword of Convalaria because I think that's the game that ProJared made a video about at some point, like a sponsored video.
So
yeah,
what?
It's basically.
So what did you say?
It's Sword of Convalaria. I do know it by name and a bit like from seeing about it because ProJared made like a sponsored video about it, and it's basically gacha Final Fantasy Tactics, like also from the visual standpoint.
Oh, okay.
It doesn't look bad, but I'm not playing it because I don't want to play another gacha. Maybe you can play it, Felix. Play your first gacha.
No, I will not.
It has mostly positive on Steam. Look. But no, I'm not interested.
They also have the wrappers like WebView and NW.js. Essentially you just need the base technology, right? That's really the important thing. Honestly, I would be very happy if HTML5 will get more support. And WebGPU, just to clarify, WebGPU is just the new 3D API for the web, which is currently you use WebGL, which is just OpenGL for the web, very similar API. And it's kind of limited, and WebGPU really tries to be, I think, closer to stuff like Vulkan, or what you call it, more up-to-date render APIs. From what I saw, it looks really cool. The only downside is we kind of like already have everything done in WebGL, and that just porting to WebGPU is now kind of unfeasible for us, or like a lot of work and probably not worth it. But in the long run, it's definitely something we could do and we would do. Okay, man, I wanted to do stuff. I really don't get anything done today. It's okay. I will now stop talking for the next 10 minutes and focus on getting some stuff done.
Okay.
So maybe Hannah, you can talk with the chat and stuff.
Okay. Hey, anyone? Anime, right? Have you heard about anime? It's like Chinese cartoons, and there are a few very good ones. Yeah.
Nice.
Okay, that's it. I'm out of juice. Sorry, I can't talk
God
about
damn
anything
it!
else.
Why are you in the streams again, Hannah?
Hi, chat. Anime, hi. Oh yeah, I've heard about the Ranma 1/2 remake. It's pretty well received from what I hear. It's just sometimes a bit silly because, as people might remember, especially you, Felix, Ranma 1/2, the original one, it has female presenting nipples.
It does, yeah.
Yeah, it even showed them on German television back then.
It did, yeah. That was actually...
Which I guess a lot of like moral guardians just didn't pay attention to that, or were like, yeah,
apparently
whatever.
They didn't, yeah.
The same happened with Dragon Ball, funny enough.
Yeah,
But yeah, in the remake, they of course
don't do that.
More, they turned them into Barbie doll physics, where the nipples are just removed. They don't exist anymore.
Yeah.
They're the same plot as the original so far, but the script and animation are much better. Yeah, I can see that. Like, I assume they are much tighter written. I assume they also removed a lot of the filler and animated it better. I mean, the animation looked really good from what I saw. And how they executed the art style. Like, keeping the art style mood or vibe intact, but modernizing it. Kind of like they also did with Urusei Yatsura, I think it's called. The alien one. Yeah. Other anime I'm enjoying this season is Blue Box, which is like a big one, like for grounded romance anime. It's really good. Of course, Felix's favorite, the Sword Art Online alternative spin-off with the big Felix Klein waifu, Pito Hui.
Yeah, whatever means is like the opposite of what is the case, in case you're wondering.
He really didn't like her for some reason. I never
understood. I know,
her.
like it was an annoying character in my opinion.
She was great. It's also still very enjoyable. Especially, I still find it so impressive how like this light novel from some years ago, basically executed on a relatively believable battle royale game mode plot before Fortnite was a thing, before even PUBG was a thing. So it was basically either it sorted out themselves or it played like some of those early mods of like Arma 3 or whatever it's called that invented that mode. It's really funny. And then there's of course Magia Lumiere, which is very interesting, with the whole magical girl in as an actual job and career in modern capitalism thing. It's really interesting. Yes. That reminds me that I still need to watch that we still need to continue Delicious in Dungeon. Battle Royale was a Japanese movie. Yeah, it's true. Battle Royale was a Japanese movie that had like a similar concept. But I don't know if the Battle Royale game mode was inspired by the Battle Royale movie. I mean, Battle Royale as a concept was maybe older than this movie, to be honest. So I don't know. Yeah, the thing is, Sword Art Online, like the alternative anime of this season, it didn't just have like the basic mode with the basic concept like, oh, the last one standing is the winner. It even had like the concepts like the shrinking battle map, which in a way it is executed was a thing that like Fortnite did, that Apex Legends did. I assume PUBG also did. I've never played PUBG, but yeah. He's trying to steer back around to gacha. Someone stop him. Yeah, I was thinking about maybe going back to Limbus Company, but no. I'm seeing the viewership is already below 100 now. I have to be careful.
Mm-hmm. Okay,
no,
let's see.
I could talk a bit about normal games, like, hey, I still need to finish Drover, if you have heard about that. It's a German game. It's a German game that is very similar to Crosscode in Alabaster Dawn, because it's also top-down and has stamina bar for dodging and twin stick.
Literally the same game.
Yeah, literally the same game. But no, it's actually very different in that it's less of a JRPG and way more comparable to like the old school German RPG Gothic. For the cultured people in chat who remember that one. It's very similar to that in vibe and
okay, let's
some
see.
mechanics. But I also wonder if they were still indeed inspired a bit by Crosscode in how they made a few UI choices and stuff like that. It's very nice. I mean, if it's of course much harsher in terms of gameplay than the easy casual gamer baby game Crosscode. That is always very easy. But I mean, it has like very generous autosave and stuff like that. So unless you're playing Iron Man mode, which I wonder who will do that. I mean, some people I assume will, but I respect those people a lot if they actually play Drover in Iron Man mode. Next Radical Fish game should be modernized Secret of Mana with emphasis on tactical party members switching combat. Thank you very much. You know, we would never have that idea or talk about that in our office. Right, Felix?
What? Next we should murder Secret of Mana with emphasis on tactical party members switching combat.
Yeah, we would never think about that one.
I mean, honestly, not so much party member switching, but more like how can you make like modernize like a game with Secret of Mana, but actually make it more modern and nice. We did play Secret of Mana in the office not too long ago, and then we started thinking about that a little bit.
Yeah.
It's an interesting thought.
Yeah, many people would likely answer like modernized Secret of Mana style combat. How about Trials of Mana? Like not even the remake, like the original one, but I mean that is already somewhat of a different kind of beast because that has like the system a bit like Crosscode, with how SP was get amassed and stuff like that.
Yeah, the thing is, I always thought that Seiken Densetsu 3, at least in my opinion, at some point was a little bit just too fast. I actually kinda liked the slower pace of Secret of Mana, and I always had like this was actually really cool for a 3-player game where 3 people were together fighting stuff.
But then you go back to the party member thing.
Yeah, and the thing is,
might really be a very integral part of the entire thing.
Yeah.
But the thing is, if the game is slower, then the party members make a lot more sense in many ways and aren't as chaotic.
Yeah.
Felix, but do you remember some of those combat systems that you did on an experimental basis for RPG Maker? Like
yeah,
the
sure.
KKS?
Yeah,
the ATMPKS or whatever it was called.
Yeah, that one.
There were some really interesting ideas with that. I mean, of course, some of those were a bit like how you say it, compromises with how the RPG Maker.
Yeah, a lot.
Yeah. But I mean, if you, I think in a way, some of them could be interesting. I mean, one of those was basically a more open Grandia style combat, right? Like with automatic running towards the enemy and stuff like that.
Yeah, it was action combat, but you had to select stuff and then they ran to it, essentially, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, there was some stuff like that, yeah.
Wonder if you could do like a somewhat of an, like if you have mouse control, you could turn it into a bit of an RTS style combat system. RTS style party combat system. Kind of like, wasn't there a similar kind of game? Maybe. But
look,
I
think I did it. It's fine now.
It looks really nice, yeah.
Yeah, I added some effects, so it looks a bit like it's growing, you know? Honestly, I think the Nyx things need to disappear quicker. Do they even disappear, honestly?
There are CRPGs that are kind of like that. Like, for example, the Spirit Engine was kind of like that, even though it had like a very different kind of perspective, and because it was basically just this pure side view thing without any meaning for like positioning aside from party order.
Now this is better. Okay, but no, wait, that's, oh my gosh, I switched out the effects. This must be this one, this must be this one. Okay, let's try this again. Yeah, now this looks better. Okay, now it's actually too quick. I mean too long. This must be quicker now. Yeah, no, this is a lot better. Okay. Okay, maybe this one needs to happen a bit earlier.
Yeah, maybe I need to make the sweep a bit less.
What if I do this at the same time? I think I probably would just create a custom effect for this, honestly. Oh, there's a delay here. Dang, that's why. Oh my gosh. Okay, no wonder. Let's try this again. Okay, this is better. Yeah, I'm happy now. This is good.
Neat.
The only thing I noticed that the billboard for some reason just pops in. It's not correctly faded. Maybe I just need to enable fading of billboards. It's probably just missing right now. That should be easy to fix that. Oh, you know what? I will just leave the. I will implement the fading of billboards tomorrow. Yeah. Yeah, and just imagine 3 of those bushes happening. I can just do bush number 2. Add like a bit of weight here. Then bush 3. A bit more of a weight. And now you have like a nice transition. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff we can work with here. I'm sure you guys get this question a lot, but do you plan on releasing a demo of the anytime in the future? We do plan to release a demo at some point, and this point in time will not be this year, but very likely next year. So you have to see. We kind of had this idea to do it in time for the next Steam Next Fest, And Kovash asks, I will also like to test ID on my potato PC. Oh man, yeah, I'm always concerned about potato PCs because Alabaster has more system requirements compared to crosscode, that's for sure. It's not extreme, I think, but you do need a more or less modern system, I would say.
Ah, right. I forgot. That's a good thing. A good thing to remind me. See if I can find it.
Geflügel, queue up, don't forget me before you guys end the stream.
I'm trying to find it, but it's like...
Unfortunately, our soundboard can't play YouTube anymore, so things are a bit more tricky now.
Yeah, I mean, I know it exists, but I always forget how to find it. Xenoblade, don't forget. Let's see. I mean, I get a lot of things that say don't forget, but the problem is I can't get a preview for it. It's like the bad thing about Fretboard, that you can't really preview things.
Oh yeah. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it for our stream. I mean, yeah, we did get some trees, bushes, all of these things. They're there, they work. Oh no, they're back. It just repeats like the next trees. Yeah, it's always expected. What you see here, by the way, is a map where we kind of like try to show several isolated spots to showcase how things transform rather than showing big maps. It was kind of like it's an attempt to really focus on the details, and it actually makes it a lot easier for us to do this kind of thing. So, by the way, in case you notice, all of this is a reference to the Terranigma Nature Returns scene. I'm not sure if you can see that one. It's kind of tricky to find good videos of this. I think that was like the video before that. You see, oh yeah, here, see it. Yeah, that's the nature transition scene of Terranigma. where you have like flower growing and then stuff like this happening. We will not look exactly like that, but we do have, it's a bit of an inspiration for this sequence. Thank you for tuning into the Bob Ross hour where they added bushes and trees to the canvas. That's true. Yeah, we did that today. Okay, I guess we will just leave out the music stuff this time.
Yeah. What do you mean?
Or did you cue something? No, you cued something worse. Yeah.
Sorry, I can't find the Xenoblade thing.
Yep. That's the next best thing, I guess. Okay, I think would say that concludes our Alabaster Dawn game dev stream. So
yes.
We did a few of things we planned to do, so thanks for tuning in. And we will keep working on the game, obviously. And
really?
Yeah, we do indeed. And hopefully in the near future there will be some more news, an update, maybe a demo version. We'll see. Actually, that test map with fireflies would be a nice screensaver. Yeah.
That's true. Do people still use
I need to know if Felix pronounces push the way he pronounces bush. Oh, that's actually good. That's a good example. Yeah, I would say push then. Yeah. Interesting. Bush, push. Yeah, that's a nice way for me to remember this. Yeah, sometimes English is more consistent than I would think, or more consistently inconsistent. That's how I would say it. So it's not like bush is a weird exception. It's just one of the many ways you would pronounce the letter U in English.
Bush is not a weird exception. It's one of the many bad presidents of the United States.
Okay.
Politics, am I right?
Yeah,
okay.
Politics. Let's not go
By
there.
the way, did you hear that there was some that Twitch streams have to like say when they are talking about politics or something? Otherwise they can get banned or whatever. Whatever, man. Anyway, thanks for being here. It was very, very nice. I also did a bit of stuff in the meantime, like working on the new enemy.
Great.
Maybe not super productive because I'm getting distracted and stuff, but you know, it's how it is.
Okay. Good. Until next time. So thanks for watching. Hope to see you again sometime, and stay safe, stay warm and everything in this winter, or don't get too warm when you're in the south and it's summer. I don't know. Until next time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. And don't forget.
I was watching the whole time.
She was, I guess. Bye.